right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Card Talk. I'm Ryan, joined as always by Tyler and Lou. And today we've got two special guests with us. We've got Rob and Thomas from Panini's Football line here to join us, talk about the football products, this new Elite Football out now, and a couple other topics. So, Rob, Thomas, appreciate you guys coming on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having us.
Football. Ryan, you're a big football guy.
Big football guy.
I will have an image in my head forever from the last Dallas show. The smile you had on your face when you came back with, I think it was the Peyton 1-of-1.
Yes.
NFL.
Oh, the Shield, yeah.
The Shield. Yeah, we've talked a lot on the show, fascination just around obviously the amount of position players. There's QBs, wide receivers, running backs. We had a debate on that last episode about I'm gonna yell that from my mic placement about rookie running backs and tight ends or wide receivers long term. And I think there's so many different variables when it comes to football. So I'm excited to get into it. I think we're going to pop open some of this, talk design of different products. But I'd like to just kick it off with when you're coming up, Tom, with and thinking of the development of a product. What's the foundation of the start? Like, where's the first kind of concepting go?
I mean, I think from the get-go, obviously, you're just trying to decipher, what you want to be the brand makeup. I mean, it can be the base to where, it parallels and you get all the unique substrates, unique colors, if you really wanted to go that route, or you have a one-pack box where it's just mainly about the hits,
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, what customer base you're trying to hit with that particular program. When it comes to one like Elite, I mean, a lot of it is based off of the base. We have the status aspirations, the die cuts there, and all the different sequential numberings from, high up to 399 and down to the 1-of-1s, and each parallel stands out with the unique substrates and the color to them there. So when you get to that, and then, we get our Elite Pen Pals, that have been a brand staple here for the couple of years since we took it out of National Treasures. And the turn of the century autographs are another, big staple here. So I think you're really just trying to make sure you encompass a little bit of everything from the hits to the inserts and to the parallels. Make sure you kind of got a good mix there.
And one of the things I like about Elite, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Elite is typically really the transition, really the start of NFL jerseys and products, right? So this will typically be the first product where you'll see any of the players in an NFL jersey.
Right. Yep. And I mean, with this rendition of it, usually we have them for the rookies. And we usually try to get the rookies in NFL gear here, but because of some time constraints here, we ended up having it more for the pen pals. So definitely still in there, but you'll see a lot of the rookies will be in there collegiate, and then we have rookie variations, which will have them with their helmets off. So definitely need to look out for that.
And Tyler is eager to start ripping.
Yeah, I'm breaking the rules.
Just jump right into it.
How many total NFL kind of product lines are there, or football? I guess.
Just on the NFL side, I think we do 37.
37 products a year?
Yep.
Yeah, and then we have our CLC.
Which is what?
It's going to
I'm
be
getting it out
Prism.
What does CLC stand for?
Oh, sorry, it's our collegiate line.
Collegiate. Got it.
So we kind of keep that.
Yeah,
keep
Rod's
that
a big
separate.
collegiate guy.
Yeah, so they did Chronicles, they did Prism, Contenders, and then they'll have Flawless and Immaculate, I believe, for the higher end lines a little bit later.
Yep.
And NT as well.
And when you think, I think we want to pop open some of these and talk about design, but what I heard you say kind of about, which I think would be so fun to like sit back and, you pulled, you said there was some Elite, ink product that was in National Treasures that you kind of popped into Elite.
Pen pals.
When you step back and look at all the different variations and everything, do you guys have any personal favorites and any that have maybe risen kind of for the consumer, in the last 2 years?
I mean, one of my favorite older products, when I say older in terms of lineage, Elite is probably my favorite older product. And then Select I've loved before everybody got on the Select bandwagon over the last couple of years, just because it was always just, the tiered base set is kind of a nod to some of the early 2000s type structures from other companies. So that's kind of cool. And then you incorporated the silvers and other things, and then we added the XRCs. into the 2016 line, which I kind of brought with me because I'm the old guy of the group, from back in the day when we were here at Donruss. So that's kind of my favorite newer brand. And then Elite I just love because the lineage going back, it's baseball inserts in the early 90s, and there's just so much history with the brand, and it's just such a cool break. You can pull, like Thomas said, there's great parallels. There's tons of different autos, some on-card stuff, some new guys in their cloned uniforms until we get to Gold Standard, which is the full.
Will that be the first one?
Yeah, that'll be our next release and stuff. And like Thomas said, typically we would have the rookies in their uniforms in Elite. We would have gotten them at the rookie photo shoot had we had it on time in the middle of May. But because that got moved to a virtual event, we couldn't do it, and so we had to alter to the collegiate photos for this last one. But then we did our own photo shoots with the guys, and so Gold Standard forward is either going to be clones or stuff in the photo shoots that we got, images we got just a few weeks ago.
So you said you've been around for a while. You were with Donruss and came over here, right?
Yeah, I'm very old.
Got it. 25, right?
Yeah, sure.
Gotcha. Something that I hear a lot when we're talking about cards is how Prism has become like this very mainstream set. It's the go-to set everyone wants. Everyone wants the rookie card. That was the big base. And then you just said you always thought Select was better because of the tiered system, right?
Yeah.
Were you surprised by the popularity, or are you still surprised by the popularity of Prism over a product like a Select that I've always thought has, because it has a tiered system, it has the more regular base concourse or whatever level, and then there's the field level or the court sides, where that is a little bit more of a premium type of card because it's more limited.
Honestly, I was surprised, even if you compare it to Donruss Optic, to tell you the truth, because those are on card versus the stickers in Prism. But I think it's just, honestly, that there's been so much history with the Topps Chrome line. To be honest, it started in '96 really with the basketball. I know it didn't start there, but that's when it started to take off. That people just started to associate just the standard regular silver hollow parallels as the cool get, and honestly, I guess it was the only get for a while, right? But and then as Topps did different inserts and things like that, it just continued to pick up steam. So I think that when we started to do Prism, and especially in basketball, which is where it started, I think the crossover there with the collectors from the Topps Chrome line to the Prism line just helped really, just explode that particular program, and then the other sports just kind of dragged with it as far as the popularity with it. But on its face, you're right. I mean, it's I think Select
basic.
has a better package in terms of how it's built and things like that. And like I said, Donruss Optic with the on-card autographs. But, I mean, Prism is what a lot of people have gravitated to, and they've just kind of have held on to it, right?
Yeah,
this is what we're doing, and this is what we started with, and we're going to keep going that way.
I wonder how much of it is like a flagship type product in a sense, because like I'm a big time baseball collector, so like I've always I've been more of a flagship as opposed to a Chrome buyer, but I just think that people are looking for like the main product they know is coming every year and everyone's gonna really want, and then it just ended up everyone gravitated there. I've always thought it was kind of strange that it was Prism, but it's interesting.
But let's be honest, if you're looking at our basketball line, though, we don't have – I mean, I know they do hoops and Donruss and things like that, but it's not like Score that's been around forever in football, or Donruss that kind of was still around and then went away for a while and came back and stuff. So really, when we took it over, we didn't really have a flagship brand early on. And so you're right, because we didn't really have start out doing a base Donruss. I mean, we did a base Panini, but that didn't really catch on, things like that. I think people gravitated to it like, you know what, it's not a true base brand in terms, but at the time it was only a couple bucks more a pack than a base brand, and you're right. I think people just kind of jumped on that as a flagship brand for basketball, and then it went on from there.
I mean, Brian just got a huge card.
A couple packs in.
It completely derailed what I was. Brian got so
couple packs
distracted.
in. We got that Trevor Lawrence rookie. So,
oh wow!
So I was completely sidetracked.
okay?
Yeah, I had a little train of thought there.
He's got his first Trevor Lawrence. Kid's fired up.
No, it has nothing to do with that.
God!
No, Lou threw me off there. One of the things Lou actually had mentioned when we were talking to Tracy, and we wanted to kind of bring it back up here, was, some athletes are harder to get than others, right? Brady has typically been one that may not be in every single product.
Sure.
How do you guys, Rob, how do you work with maybe the brand managers or whatnot to determine what products Brady ends up going in. We talked about Brady with the inscriptions, how those ended up in Spectra and then NT and then Flawless. How does that kind of work with you guys where you're like, hey, this, if we only have so many of a certain player, they go in this product versus this product? Is it just, relevancy and what's coming up, or is that more calculated and more futuristic?
No, I mean, the guys kind of know. I mean, I for most of the deals we get, we really don't. After I give the autograph specs or whatever and the deal gets confirmed, I don't go to the guys and say, okay, you have to use this guy. I mean, I really try to be as hands-off as possible and let them be as creative as possible. So, but a guy like Brady, of course, you're going to have him in your high ends, but there's other stuff that makes sense, right? He makes sense in a lot of different Donruss inserts, even though that is our lowest tier, item. Or occasionally when we do a special Tom Brady tribute set like we did in Score, well, let's throw, even though there's only a couple of those in retail, for each card, let's throw him in there just because it makes sense because of the line we're doing. So, I think he probably stays more out of like mid-range stuff, but we try to include guys, most of the guys, even if they're just a smidge, right? Even if there's only, numbered out of 5 or whatever and everything, just to give everybody a chance to pull that particular guy or a Mahomes autograph or whoever it may be in that particular line. Obviously, rookies are a different story because they're reflected in every program, but we try to. I mean, I think for the most part we try to, and Thomas can answer a little bit more of this as well, but I think we try to use guys, spread them out more, and just use numbering systems where we can get the most possible names in a program, in every program they do.
Yeah, and I mean, Rob's right on that. I mean, when it comes to, having a guy like Brady, he doesn't really dictate, as to where they need to fall. I mean, you'll find Brady autos that are in Elite, so there is that chase here, that you could pull out of.
In this?
Yeah. So, I mean, we definitely want to sprinkle them in there, and allow for collectors to still chase those top-end guys, whether it be a Score or, a lower-end brand. But, it's obviously when we get to the higher-end stuff, that's when you see, it's just kind of more packed full of those bigger names, the Mahomes, the Bradys, the top, the Josh Allens that are now starting to, make that kind of rise. So it's just really trying to keep a good pulse on who is, bringing in the good value at the time and making sure that there's plenty to go around.
Well, it's Lou's favorite player, so we got to make sure that we keep talking about it. Did I hear you say that Elite started as a baseball insert? Did you say that?
Yeah, it was part of the Elite Series in Donruss, and I think it was 91 the first year. I think it was either 90 or 91. It was an Elite Series. It was numbered out of like 10,000. They had an Elite Series and a Legend Series, and they were just singular cards that people chased because they were so rare. Actually, they were, if you consider the amount of packs that were produced back then. And then it just kind of, but it kept being an insert, and then it just kind of transitioned into its own brand for both, or for baseball, hockey, and football in the early to mid 90s.
It's kind of a sweet Zach Wilson we got going on here, Lou.
That's cool.
I just wanted to circle back real quick when you said number out of 10,000. That made me laugh. That's like a ridiculous serial number. But at the time, it's like
They didn't do serial numbers.
Yeah, right.
It's in the early 90s.
Yeah, what I was going to say is it's so fun to me, the brand development and how, Mosaic, I guess, of late, but you mentioned like 91, so I was the year I was born, which is weird because it always felt like 11 years ago or 9 years ago. But are there any inserts that you guys see now that may have legs going into the future? Like, when do those conversations start to begin of, taking an insight or, an insert or kind of a one-off and really starting to develop a brand around it? How do those conversations come about?
I think it's really just we review every program after it's done, and sometimes there's things that pop out or stick out. And some things work and some things don't. Like we tried, to break out passing the torch, even though it was a direct line, and it did fine. It wasn't what I would say was a home run. Thomas actually developed that one too, but it was hard to do.
Nice work, Tom.
It was just hard to do. There's a lot of things that you think are good, and then when you actually kind of get past putting pencil to paper and you actually have to build it and make it budget out and things like that it's a lot harder for you to make work. We wanted to include all these extra dual autographs and triples and quads, and we're like, well, no, don't have the money to do quads, mark that off and stuff. So, and then but like Mosaic, that spun from replay in basketball as an insert or as a replacement to cover some of the replay things, and then that went to its own individual brand that was sold, and then it exploded into like this regular
full.
And we just kind of threw it in because we were like, well, we think this will work in football, and it just blew up, obviously. It's the main thing we try to do is to give you your best value and your best money in each box, and putting things like pen pals, how they ended up here from National Treasures, because we felt that Elite needed a little bit something else at the time to help it give better. It's just like Absolute, like year in and year out was it was a good program. It still is, but it's probably a double if you want to make a baseball comparison. That's why we said let's put Kaboom there. And now all of a sudden, after we did that, Absolute's incredible, but they're chasing Kabooms out of there. So we try to be strategic with where we put stuff. If we think a brand may need a little help, that's why we do things like that.
Yeah. How about some of the actual design process, on an annual basis? Like how much, time, energy, effort, what's the team kind of look like? Is it, hey, year over year, similar kind of designer that's taking kind of the first crack at at how you kind of land on, hey, all right, this is the final, lock up and design.
I mean, I've
1:37 p.m. That's my alarm. Sorry about that.
Years of Elite Football, with that hollow board, film board that we use, and the foil that's a kind of full coverage of it. I've always kind of liked it to have like a sleek design to where it's not too much foil. I think when it gets to the parallels, it really helps, the cards stand out when it does get to different colors or like.
What was that
He
card
just
you're
pulled.
holding
He pulled. Yeah, and I think that's probably one of my favorite parallels, honestly, that come out of the base set. And I mean, he just pulled another one over here too.
Really
So
nice card too.
yeah, I love the look of that. But I mean, to your point,
What one's that over there?
It's like fireworks. It kind of feels like.
And when you say like this is one of your favorite parallels, meaning kind of like this of 25.
yeah, just the
design.
substrate alone itself, the way that it kind of pops off the card at you when you do pull it out of a pack, you got something pretty decent there.
Yeah.
But I mean, when it comes to the actual, deciding on the design, that's getting with our design team, kind of having an idea when we go through our briefs as to ultimately what we want to see on the card, and kind of let them run with it. We try not to dictate to them too much, to be like, oh, we have to have this.
Yeah.
Only on certain cards that, like the Kabooms or the color blast, stuff like that, we want to make sure, they nail that. But, we try to give them some kind of freedom to kind of run with it. And
Makes sense.
we've got a good staff.
So, Thomas, I just pulled a J.J. Watt in a Cardinals uniform, right? And I think you'll see this throughout the hobby with all sports where, really where's that first time you see a person in their, next uniform, right, when they get traded. Brady in a Bucks uniform.
Right.
I remember KD in a Warriors uniform was big when at the National one year. You guys put those in silver packs. How does that get determined, right? Where, I saw a Julio Jones that is in a Falcons uniform, but Watt is in a Cardinals. Is that just a timeline thing?
It is a timeline thing, especially with Julio just getting traded within the past, I want to say, a month or two. I mean, this was already kind of in production as to it needing to be printed and whatnot. So these clones were done real early, as soon as a lot of those guys ended up changing teams during free agency and stuff like that. Then we're already on the ball trying to get all those guys updated to these new teams. So our team ends up, cranking out those new clones of these guys, and it pops off the card when especially when you're pulling a J.J. Watt. You're so used to seeing him with the Texans that you see him in Cardinals, you kind of do a double take there. So it's kind of gives the Arizona Cardinals fans a chance to go after somebody different than your regular Larry Fitzgeralds of the world and stuff like that.
Been a couple years.
Little bit of a turn. When you guys are thinking about, we talked about Kaboom just now. When you're thinking about who to put in 2021 Kaboom, right? Where do the decisions get made of like, these are the rookies we're going to use, these are the vets we're going to use, he might have been in it twice already, but we're going to throw him in again? Or is there like thought against that? Is it people who were popping in the previous year?
No, there's definitely thought behind that. A lot of times, if we wanted to split it up between a vet and, a rookie set like that, then we want to make sure that, we're getting in the top rookies that you want in there. You're going to have your top 5 quarterbacks from this year and most of the top, inserts, just because we know That's what drives the product.
Yeah.
But when it comes to guys kind of duping up year after year, I mean, of course, you're going to want to have Brady in there, you know, when it comes to Spellbound or stuff like that, just so you can chase those cards. You know that you're going to get good value out of those guys. And it's always nice to be able to have a guy like Josh Allen who is starting to kind of take an uptick and see him kind of working into some of those inserts. And I see a look on your face not taking to that one, but, you know, stuff like that to where
Big Josh Allen guy.
Yeah.
but I mean, you kind of see guys like that who end up starting to take the league by storm a little bit there, and you know want to make sure that they're represented.
Yeah,
As we talk about Josh Allen, I just pulled the quarterback's first playoff win is a big hit.
That's huge.
That's
It
your
says
quarterback.
Ascension?
Ascension, Josh
More
Allen.
like a peak of a
No.
career kind of
There
thing.
is a Tom Brady on a boat for Ascension,
Tom
so
Brady
go
on a boat.
go find that one.
That's cool. That's cool. What I was wondering was like, if you ever, like you're saying, you like try to pick a guy who might take a leap,
Yeah.
and that's the card you want to get. Has there been a little bit one that was maybe a little bit offbeat, like you wouldn't have expected them to either be in it and then they pop off?
Well, I
in
mean,
recent memory?
I'll
Not even Kaboom necessarily.
no,
whether it's someone else.
I'll kind of play joke to my old assistant, but we had Taylor Heineke and flawless, you know, rookie set this year, and you know, I kind of got a little bit of crap for that one, but it's also somebody that, you know, it's his first card in a Redskins uniform, and it actually sold pretty decently out there on this, you know, on the market. So you kind of take, you know, little jumps like that to see if, you know, somebody does get a little bit of collectability out of it.
Right.
And some guys have a little cult following, you know, and it's nice to see.
Yeah, well, shout out to Ty. You might remember John Coker, big time hack collector.
Of course, yeah.
Also Tyler Schmidt, big time Christian Hackenberg fan as well. He loves.
State
I
great.
believe in the
I
deepest
just
part of
got
my
that
soul,
too. I'm so
I
sad.
thought Hackenberg was bringing the Jets Super Bowl.
It's one
I
of the
thought he was
all-time
going to do
overpicks.
something too. I'm a big Penn State fan, so I was hoping that he would do
the
something.
podcast has begun.
Yeah, number
The
one community in
podcast has
college.
begun.
Remember that?
Number one community in college
What
sports,
an outrageous
guys.
thing to say.
Penn State.
I haven't gotten one auto yet. How's that possible?
Yeah, I mean,
You'll get there.
the rap generally is that they put busts into the NFL, but it's a tough scene. Do you have a favorite color or kind of form of parallel?
Do you have a favorite
Oh,
color?
to
parallel
work
wise,
with? Yeah. Like,
I mean-
look, I'm a big purple parallel
I
guy.
think-
Some people might know that, but I would love to hear. Do you have like a favorite kind of parallel or go-to?
I
you ever
mean-
put your foot down in certain spots and say, "This is how it's going to be."
I mean, I think obviously, you know, the gold is usually a staple in most of our programs that we do. I think that's kind of what makes people gravitate towards that one. But I mean, I hate to say it, I'm a Giants fan, so anytime, you know, that matches up with a nice blue or a red in there, you know, I'm pretty much sold there, so I can't complain when it comes to that.
Love a good color match.
Pence.
The purple and obsidian looks amazing.
Oh yeah, the flood on
Flood.
those.
Agreed.
The flood
Agreed.
parallel.
Yep.
And like when we changed the contenders red flood parallel a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
and it really stood out versus just doing foil. So yeah,
That was a
if
whole
you-
other thing too. What I think was it Prism where you guys changed. I said they. I'm like sitting here with you guys. You guys, you guys changed around. I think it was the colors, like with the different serial numbers. What brought you there? Was it just you were trying to get different to mix it up a little bit, or?
Yeah, it's usually just to kind of change up the feel year after year, you know.
Yeah.
Most of the staples when it comes to the ones, you know, like 10 or less or whatnot, we'll keep, but it's kind of the middle package that will kind of interchange there to kind of, you know, just change up the look of it. You don't want to pull the purple plaid year after year after year, you know,
Right.
you get a green plaid or something like that after. So it, especially when, you know, you have such a iconic rainbow chase, you know, and prism that you want to kind of change it up.
Yeah, I weirdly think that it should change like every year.
Yeah.
Like the colors and the numbers should like vary from year
Yeah.
to year. I think that'll just make it more interesting.
Because purple was 99 for a while, and then some said 75,
Right.
and so you're saying the full
Every time it should
switch
switch
up.
around. Gold vinyl probably stays the same. Gold
Mhm.
probably stays the same. But like everything else should like, and green becomes, you know, added 290 whatever. You
Mhm. So I feel like more of late, one of like black is one maybe in certain products, or like gold is like up 5 or 10.
Like black and optic is Pandora. It's at a 25, but in Prism it's 101.
Yeah.
Right, so it's different in a lot of brands.
Yeah.
And you just don't want to see the same color mix for every single, you know, Optichrome brand that we do, stuff like that. So just kind of keeping it fresh between brand to brand, so they all have their own identity there.
Yep. How about when you look at the calendar, for the full year of football, are you doing similar exercises of saying, hey, are there certain nuances to the calendar each year that we can put switch ups into, or do people like more of the consistency of the release over the season?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's been a weird 2 years.
Right. Right. For the most part, we've had some pretty solid releases in football. I mean, there was a time when, like, from 15 to 16, 16 to 17, where we flipped out of stuff. We tried stuff, didn't work, flipped it out. So really, right now, we've gotten to a point where we only flip out stuff if we just want to freshen it up, right? So, like, clearly Donruss was huge in basketball. It did really well in Chronicles. And plates and patches have been a little stagnant, so we're actually going to flip that in and move the plates and patches, some of the key concepts, into Chronicles. So we're going to do clearly Donruss in that spot. Or the direct lines that we do a couple of direct products each year, that gives us freedom to switch around things. Like the Honors brand that we do, it's very hard to acquire all those buybacks and get autographs and stuff. That's why we do that typically every 2 to 3 years. So so this year we're bringing back, we're doing a dual form of Classics. So we're doing a Classics Premium Edition that's all chrome, that'll be our direct line, but then we're doing an H2 version of the paper product for hobby stores, just to kind of give them something cool to sell that'll be a little bit more price point friendly. And a lot of people like Classics a lot, and it's like the brand that has a clear line. I mean, either you love it or you hate Classics. And so but hobby stores, distributors didn't like it, but hobby stores always did. So the fact we're bringing it back as H2, hopefully that'll be really good for those guys. And then we've had, Zenith, I think, spun Zenith into a bigger brand from just being a direct brand, things like that. So we'll switch up a couple items right now, but really the calendar has been, the guys have just done a bang-up job with these programs and the products. They all do well, even before the explosion that's happened over the last 12 to 18 months. I think our guys have done a phenomenal job with building the programs up. So the only time, fortunately, that we're really having to flip stuff out is just if we feel like it, or if we want to try something new, or a brand has worked in another sport that we'd really like to do in football. So
here's a fun question, and we were talking earlier. I think it's just fun to, as you look at the product and kind of humanize with some of the decision makers, do you have a product decision, and I'll ask both of you, that you've made, both that you can recall as like a win and you were pumped about, like insight that you personally saw, hey, put it into the product and it worked, and then maybe one that you didn't, that you thought that you were confident about and didn't land, in a similar way?
See if I can remember mine, because I'm a few years removed from making programs. But when I first came back at the end of 2015, right after we got the full license for NFL, I came back as a brand manager. So one of my first products I created from scratch was Impeccable. I love that product. So that's probably my favorite, just because of the look and the feel. It's very classy, and I love that other sports picked it up and things like that. The misses, probably the one from semi-scratch that was still ours that we missed on, or at least at the time, was maybe Vertex. It didn't resonate, and we thought it would. It seems to have resonated afterwards. There was even somebody that had a bring back Vertex Twitter or something like that, right? But that was kind of, I can't remember what basketball program we kind of spun that off of, like some of the base designs.
Football, that was like 2017. Was it Mahomes?
Yeah. Now, naturally, of course, it's going to end up exploding with Mahomes and everybody else in that group. But it didn't. It took a while to hit, and so that was the one was kind of puzzling to us based on how the cards looked and felt, and we thought it was going to be a great launch, and it was just me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
How are you guys feeling about the calendar in terms of, like Tyler was saying, like everything's gotten switched up a lot recently, and like product to come out a little bit later. Like I think Prism Basketball came out in like December or November, whatever.
Yeah.
Are you guys gonna keep that same timing, or do you think you'll end up going back to how it used to be pre-COVID?
I think we want to get back to where we normally
to not being
things.
in a massive crunch at all times.
I mean let's be honest. I mean the worker shortage and stuff has affected not just us here or our mem room that handles all our cutting and things like that, but the printer. And when you start talking about the printer, you start talking about a lot more companies than just Panini for that part. So that's kind of it just has pushed everything just back in terms of getting materials or getting workers. I mean, it's just, as with like almost everything else you see, whether it's trying to drive through a fast food line or go to a restaurant now and you're waiting 30 minutes longer than normal, it's just everything is just kind of been a lot slower. So yeah, hopefully we'll get back to just, releasing this. I mean, Elite should have come out like a month ago, I think.
Right.
But, we want to get back in those windows that people are traditionally looking for our products, and this, Prism, like you said, usually comes out here. Contenders usually comes out here.
Yeah,
People expect that.
That's one thing I noticed this year, especially the college stuff is my thing. I enjoy it so much, and I love ripping it on like the draft.
Right.
Like NFL draft's on, let's rip a case of this and enjoy it. And I noticed this year there wasn't really, I don't think there was anything out on the time the NFL draft comes around. And typically you guys are like, I know last year you had Prism Draft out,
Right.
and I don't know if Contenders was out, but it was pretty close. So, yeah, it's definitely, I know COVID's changed a lot of that stuff. We saw it really with basketball. That's when I really noticed it. Again, like to lose point, Prism basketball was December, Zion's rookie year, and then it came out way later for LaMelo. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see once we get back there. And it's tough, though, because this is, we're in such a go society to just slow everything down, especially as you have a massive boom in sports cards. To slow everything down is,
No, there's no doubt. But yeah, if we can get back to our, again, quote unquote normal calendar, we would love to get back in that spot and be, have our rookie photos. I mean, hopefully we're taking a good first step here with the National here in a couple of weeks, and the Summit, a little bit after that. And I know the basketball is having a combination photo shoot with the Summer League in Vegas. So they're actually having a regular photo shoot where we were quite on the edge where we couldn't quite have one with the PA. So hopefully we just keep taking steps to get it, and all that stuff also puts us behind, right? If another reason why we're behind on football is because we had to do all the clones like we had to do last year, because we had no idea if we were going to get to do any type of photo shoot or anything like that. And so that's a ton of man hours, especially with football, because with basketball it's much easier. There's much less clothes. I mean, with football you're talking about the helmet's got to be right, the numbers on the shoulders have to be right, the way the players are wearing their socks and tucked in and not tucked in. All that stuff has to be airbrushed and stuff to a T to get it approved by the leagues and stuff. And so just everything is kind of pushed behind. So once we get even these events back on track, it'll help us to get back on track on our end and kind of get everything flowing. And it's not just us, right? It's all the companies that are having the similar issue, whether it's workers or paper or materials or whatever it may be. It's just just where we are right now as a country.
Look how jacked this dude is.
Do
dude's arms are huge.
Do you feel, a lot of times like in mass change, innovation will come out. Do you feel there's been a little bit more ability to play or innovate? Like, the consistency of the schedule year over year products, and then what's happened over the last 2 years. Has there been conversations in you guys, or do you feel maybe there's a little bit more room to innovate because of all the change that's happened? And has anything been maybe birthed, over the last 18 months because of the rapid kind of change in how things are going?
Yeah, I think, obviously with COVID, I mean, it kind of, with some of us working from home or whatnot, you're not kind of around everybody to kind of, have the same kind of banter that you would to kind of, throw out ideas. But I mean, we still, when we come to making a program, we can all jump online together and kind of hammer out what we would like to see and whatnot. I believe it's Illusions that, Tim Yoder, who, is another brand manager on the football side, he's doing some little hologram type S cards that'll be coming out. And
nice.
So, you talk about innovative stuff like that, it's good to see. It gives us a chance to kind of, we know what we already have in the program, we just want to better it, so being able to kind of throw in those case hits or, unique kind of card inserts like that, is what we really want to try to add to the programs, because it kind of gets us excited about, when it does come out.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite insert?
Oh, man. That's a good one.
You designed it, doesn't count.
No. I think I fell in love with the Color Blast, but when they did the Obsidian, the black version of those, I think those really stood out a lot.
Fire.
I really loved those when we were coming out with that, but there's all kinds of, unique inserts from the Kabooms to even, Prestige with the heroes that they had there. I think those ended up looking really nice, so.
Yeah, those aren't even short prints in there.
Yeah.
Trading for $20-$30 for key players.
So as we get ready to wrap this one up, just want to get an idea of like what product are you each looking forward to that's going to be coming out here, football related, that's going to be coming out here in the next month or two? What's kind of really on your mind as one that you're excited for?
For me, it's coming out shortly. Probably Spectra. I love Spectra.
Agreed.
There's just all kinds of, we get the, I don't know where we come up with just some of the weirdest, craziest type parallels for that program, whether it's the splatters or
Psychedelic,
the psychedelic, or whatever it may be, neon marbles, things like that. And I know they've added a couple more this year. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but I like Spectre just because of you get some on card in there, and you get just a ton of hits in there, and the ink color variants on the rookie autographs. That's one of my favorites every year, just because it's a different kind of, it's thicker than all our other chrome brands that we do, things like that. So it stands out, and it's always been really good, even though it's struggled in other sports a little bit. In football, it's always been really, really solid.
And then I want to say it's not even one that I'm working on. I think it's black that's coming out. I think they did some good changes to the on-card elements there. I think you'll see some pretty unique designs there.
Smoke show signature.
Yeah, some of those really turned out nice. And with them being on acetate, being on acetate, they kind of try to help get away from the chipping issues that they have there. So I think that'll help that a lot. But that's definitely one I'm excited to see come out.
You guys have been talking about like the acetate and like it's like such a funny little inside, right? You notice the same thing, right? It's like an insider industry thing of like acetate cards are better than like, what is it, Chrome Optic? I think that's what the other one's called.
Optichrome.
Optichrome. Yeah, it's just so funny hearing you guys talk about that stuff.
Yeah.
Is there a product that hasn't released recently that you would like to see come out? I think you mentioned Vertex before.
That we want to implement.
I'm sure you guys are putting out so much stuff at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I was always kind of a little bit of a sucker for Noir and Preferred on the basketball side.
Okay.
I think that the silhouettes were always a pretty good
Noir
staple
has the
there.
sneakers too, right?
Yep, and sneaker spotlight there. I thought that was always one that I think would translate well to the football side, but at the same time, we do have a program that's somewhat similar, with black already kind of having that kind of same look. So, some of those be some cool ones to kind of bring over to that side.
Chronicles is a good place for that too, right? Because you can kind of throw different stuff in.
Yeah, Chronicles is kind of, all the brands that we don't really touch on and just kind of throw together and, throwing the RC tags on there. You're just hitting rookies galore there. So I think people kind of like that aspect of it.
Of course.
And we have to be a little more original with Chronicles too, because when the distributors they were begging for us to do it because it had been so successful in the other sports, and we're like, we don't really have the brands to do it, right? I mean, we produce so many more than our other sports, but then it's given the guys like a good testing ground to try. Well, I'm gonna do this form of acetate. Well, we know we're gonna do Clear Lead Honors, but let's bring back momentum and let's use the one from 2000 and see if that works, and that's cool. And let's also try this, and so or let's chrome up the score, or we're going to change up the substrate, and I think we did lumens on chrome last year, and I think we did on like matte finish this year and stuff. So it's kind of a cool place because we're not fitted into we have to do all these brands that we don't typically do, because we already do those brands. Those guys just have like an open palette to kind of be totally creative and totally find new stuff to do.
A nice like creative like cleanse for you guys to like mess around and do fun stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah,
No,
Tom's has the
definitely
next one, so you
Yeah, that's right.
Nice.
Awesome.
Sweet.
We appreciate you both coming on here, taking some time out of your day. I'm sure you guys are swamped as we get ready for the national and some big releases coming out here soon. So
Yeah,
appreciate you both.
Thanks for having us on here, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Sir.
That's all we got for now, guys.